crocodile is going to be lazy around the summer season, I also wish to go there and be happy with my friends. In the square below, said the happy prince, there stands a little match girl. She has let her matches fall in the gutter and they are all spoiled. Her father will beat her if she does not bring home some money, and she is crying. So after taking a look at the seamstress and this playwright, now the prince is able to look at a match girl. Match girl means the girl who sells matches which we use for lighting the fire. So what happened? The girl has dropped her matches in the gutter. Gutter means the drainage which you see by the sides of the road. So this girl has dropped it, and if she doesn't sell this, she will not earn any money. And if she goes home without any money, her father is going to beat this little girl. So he tells the swallow that he is interested in helping this girl. She has no shoes or stockings. Stockings I have written here, children. Stockings are the long socks which is worn from the toe till the hip. So it's a long socks. She has no shoes or stockings, and her little head is bare. She has not covered her head also. Pluck out my other eye and give it to her, and her father will not beat her. He is so generous. A match girl will hardly earn some pennies, or if we consider it in Indian money, it will be some paise. But what does he say? To help this girl to avoid being beaten from her father, he is ready to pluck out the other sapphire and give to this girl so that she is not beaten by her father. I will stay with you one night longer, said the swallow, but I cannot pluck out your eye. You would be quite blind then. So as I told you, the swallow is very scared that plucking out the sapphire from the eyes will make this prince blind. So he is very hesitant to remove the other sapphire. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, do as I command you. So he plucked out the prince's other eye and darted down with it. He swooped past the match girl and slipped the jewel into the palm of her hand. So once again the swallow agreed to help this prince and stay with him for a night longer, and he plucked out the other sapphire from his face and just flew past this girl, very close to this girl, and dropped the sapphire in this girl's palm. What a lovely bit of glass, cried the little girl. I told you, children, I have told you earlier also, cried means a shout, a little shout in excitement. It's not crying, but it is the scream of happiness. So when the girl receives this piece of glass as mentioned by her, which is actually the rare sapphire, she becomes too happy. She says, what a lovely bit of glass, cried the little girl, and she ran home laughing. Then the swallow came back to the prince. You are blind now, he cried. He said. Then the swallow came back to the prince. You are blind now, he said. So I will stay with you always. So now that the bird has decided that he is not going to fly back to Egypt, and instead of that the bird is going to stay with the prince forever. No, little swallow, said the poor prince, you must go away to Egypt. No, I will stay with you always, said the swallow, and he slept at the prince's feet. All the next day he sat on the prince's shoulder and told him stories of what he had seen in strange lands. So the swallow was talking to the prince and told about the incidents which the bird has seen in different places. Strange land means the places where about which the names are not mentioned here. Dear little swallow, said the prince, you tell me of marvelous things. You are talking to me about very good things. Of marvelous things means about beautiful things. But more marvelous than anything is the suffering of men and women. There is no mystery so great as misery. So what he says, you are telling me about all good and beautiful things. But what is the best? The people who are men and women. But what is very sad is, what is mysterious is their misery. That is their suffering. Why should people suffer is what the prince wishes to tell here. There is no mystery so great as misery. Fly over my city, little swallow, and tell me what you see there. So the swallow flew over the great city and saw the rich making merry in their beautiful houses while the beggars were sitting at the gates. He flew into dark lanes and saw the white faces of starving children looking out listlessly at the black streets. So, as per the order of the prince, the swallow goes around in the city and he tries to see what is happening. He sees that all rich people are making merry, means having fun. They are all happy in their houses. But poor people, beggars, are on the streets. They are not having anything. And he has also used a word called listlessly. Children are sitting listlessly, means without any energy or enthusiasm. So as the swallow looks around the city, he sees that rich are being happier, poor are being very sad, and they are spending their time without energy and enthusiasm. Under the archway of a bridge, two little boys were lying in each other's arms and tried to keep themselves warm. So because they didn't have any fire or any source to keep them warm, two boys just sat near each other, hugging each other to give warmth to both of them. Hungry, how hungry we are, they said. You must not lie here, shouted the watchman. So they were sitting under the bridge which had a arch, and under that sat these two boys, where the watchman comes and tells these boys that you are not allowed to sit here. And they wandered into the rain. As it was raining, the two boys just got up and started walking aimlessly. Wandered means just walk away without knowing where they are going. Then he flew back and told the prince what he had seen. I am covered with fine gold, said the prince. You must take it off leaf by leaf and give it to the poor. The living always think that gold can make them happy. So what he says, just take off the gold from my skin leaf by leaf, part by part, one leaf at a time, because he was covered with golden leaves. His skin was made of leaves which was of gold. So he says, take one leaf at a time, go and give it to the poor people, because they are going to be very happy on receiving this. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold he brought to the poor, and the children's faces grew rosier. Rosier means pinkish, red in color. So it was reddish, fresh and healthy. As they got this golden leaf, they all became happy. And that happiness started showing on their face. And the face got a rosier glow. The children's faces grew rosier and they laughed and played in the street. We have bread now, they cried. Then the snow came, and after the snow came the frost. So here they say the climate slowly started becoming severe. Then came the snow, the winter started snowing, and after snow came the frost. So frost is the topmost layer which forms on the snow, which will be even more cold. The streets looked as if they were made of silver. Everybody went out in furs, and the little boys wore scarlet caps and skated on the ice. Scarlet cap means red colored cap, and because it was snow, it solidifies and becomes ice, and they wore the skates and started skating in the snow. The poor little swallow grew colder and colder, but he could not leave the prince. He loved him too well. He picked up crumbs outside the baker's door when the baker was not looking, and tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. As I told you, because it was winter, the swallow was not able to maintain warmth. So it tried everything to keep warmth to himself. But at last he knew that he was going to die. He had just enough strength to fly up to the prince's shoulder once more. Goodbye, dear prince, he murmured. Means he whispered in his ears, saying goodbye. The swallow knew that he is not going to survive anymore. Will you let me kiss your hand? So the swallow is asking the prince, if you let me, allow me to kiss your hand. I am glad that you are going to Egypt at last, little swallow, said the prince. You have stayed too long here, but you must kiss me on the lips, for I love you. So such a beautiful bond of affection is shown here. The prince feels that the bird is bidding goodbye, thinking that the bird is going to Egypt, but the reality is different. So the prince tells, you have shown too much kindness towards my own wishes, and you agreed to stay too long. Now that you are going back to Egypt, I am very happy for you. You can kiss me on my lips, because I really love you for what you have done. It is not to Egypt that I am going, said the swallow. I am going to the house of death. Death is the brother of sleep, is he not? And he kissed the happy prince on the lips and fell down dead at his feet. So the moment the bird tells the prince that it is not Egypt that I am going to, but it is just that the time for me has come. I am going to die because of the weather and whatever I have gone through. He just kisses the prince on his lips and falls dead on his feet. As he kissed the happy prince on the lips and fell down dead at his feet. At that moment, a curious crack sounded inside the statue as if something had broken. The fact is that the laden heart had snapped right in two. It certainly was a dreadfully hard frost. At that moment, a curious crack sounded inside the statue as if something had broken. So what happened when the sound was heard? It was the laden heart of the prince, which was made of lead, which is a metal. So the frost was too much that it made the heart break into two parts. It certainly was a dreadfully hard frost. Early the next morning, the mayor was walking in the square below in company with the town councillors. So the authorities and the mayor of the city were walking in the morning, and they came across the statue. As they passed the column, he looked up at the statue. Dear me, how shabby the prince looks, he said. So the moment the mayor looked at this prince, he felt he doesn't look good anymore. He's so ugly. Shabby means ugly. The ruby has fallen out of his sword. His eyes are gone, and he is golden no longer, said the mayor. In fact, he is little better than a beggar. So, the beautiful statue, after losing its ruby, sapphires and gold, is now being compared to a beggar. And here is actually a dead bird at his feet. Continued the mayor. We must really issue a proclamation that birds are not to be allowed to die here. So, the mayor says that we have to make an announcement that birds are not allowed to die here. Is there any announcement that can be made? And the town clerk made a note of the suggestion. So they pulled down the statue of the happy prince. As he is no longer beautiful, he is no longer useful, said the art professor at the university. Then they melted the statue in a furnace. What a strange thing, said the overseer of the workmen at the foundry. So what happened, when they saw that the statue is not beautiful and useful anymore, they decided to pull down, means remove it from there, break down the column and remove the statue from there, and they sent the statue to a foundry. I have written here foundry means the place where metal is cast. They melt the metal down to no shape. So what happens when people are melting down this statue, they are talking about the statue. This broken lead heart will not melt in the furnace. We must throw it away. So the heart was full of goodness that it did not melt away in the foundry, and the men decided to throw away this heart into garbage. So they threw it on a dust heap where the dead swallow was also lying. So what happened? When they found that the body of the prince has melted but the heart is not melting, they just throw it away in the garbage, and they also throw away the dead swallow. Both are lying in the dust heap now. Bring me the two most precious things in the city, said God to one of his angels. So now this discussion is happening in heaven. God tells his angels to bring the two most precious things from the city. And the angel brought him the laden heart and the dead bird. You have rightly chosen, said God. For in my garden of paradise, this little bird shall sing forever more, and in my city of gold, the happy prince shall praise me. So the God tells the angels that your decision to bring the laden heart and this dead bird is just right, because with the kind deeds that these two have done, they deserve a place in paradise. Paradise means heaven. And God also tells that the bird shall always sing in my garden forever, and the prince is going to sing my praises. He will be praising the Lord forever after being brought to this heaven. So the moral that is conveyed through this story is, however you lead your life, if you understand the truth that goodness always pays. So when you are alive or post your life, when your deeds are taken into consideration, your goodness is always going to yield good results. So with this, I will close this chapter. I hope you have enjoyed reading this story. Oscar Wilde has really given us a very beautiful story. Read the chapter aloud, read it to your friends or your family. Enjoy the beautiful words which are given here. Try to make out new sentences using the new words that you learn from here. Call me or text me for any doubts that you want to be cleared. Thank you, children.